Ba-ba-ba. All right, everyone. This is episode 5 with Veterans for America First Chaplain Corps. I am Christopher Prosch, your host. Today, I have an excellent guest with me. His name is Mr. Judd Saul. He is a celebrated filmmaker and producer. He's made a couple films, and he just has a very unique ability. But today, we are focusing on his nonprofit Christian organization, Equipping the Persecuted. Judd, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Judd Saul. I'm the president and founder of Equipping the Persecuted, a mission that is dedicating to helping persecuted Christians, specifically in Nigeria.
Hmm. Excellent. And where are you based out of again? Where's your headquarters?
We're based out of Sioux City, Iowa.
Awesome. Right in the heartland. I love that. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Mr. Judd has a very interesting history. Judd, could you elaborate a little bit about your filmmaking background, your producer background? Do you have any time in Hollywood? What made you have the transition from, if you were over there, West Coast to Middle America?
Well, right out of high school, I decided to go to film school in Florida, and from there, I primarily did film video production for most of my adult life. And for the first 10, 11 years, I was doing very secular things. That means non-Christian, non-conservative things, music videos, doing things for various TV channels, and producing some content for them. And um, came late in about 2009, where I had my wake up call with God, um, a come to Jesus moment, if you will. And at that point, I decided I was pretty much given the direction that God gave me talents for a reason, and I turned those talents over to Christian and conservative based causes.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's why I wanted you on the show today, just because you have such a great background. You have I mean, you've done so many projects, all over the country. You have such a great network in your nonprofit Christian organization, equipping the persecuted. You give a very interesting perspective. So real quick, so give us an example of what's currently happening over in Nigeria right now. Why, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, why should Americans really care about what's going on when so much nonsense is happening in America?
Well, America has been ignoring what has been happening in Nigeria, and people really need to take notice. Is that one, the Chinese are buying up land en masse all over Africa, getting a hold of those natural resources. Number two, so is Islam.
Mm.
So are Muslim countries, and they have been taking over Africa slowly but surely through cultural and violent jihad for the last 200 years. And right now, they have over half of Africa. And what we're seeing play out before our eyes right now is exactly what's been happening in the Quran, where the Muslim population has reached a certain threshold. It's reached about 50%. And when they hit that 50% margin, they turn violent.
Mm.
They start taking over territory violently because they now have close to the majority. If there's only 10%, 20% Muslim population, they have to get along with everybody and they can't start attacking. But now they have the threshold, and this is what you've seen ever since Islam started, was when they reach a certain threshold in population, they become violent and they start taking over the rest. Now, I don't know why Americans need to be paying attention to this is because of the vast amount of wealth and natural resources that is now going to go to be funding more terrorism across the world and creating more terrorist groups. And you don't see much of this in the news, but when Biden got the presidency, um, we saw a merger of the major Nigerian Muslim terrorist organization Boko Haram merge with ISIS.
Mm.
So now they have an ISIS operation happening in northern Nigeria, and they're really not being met with much force.
Mm.
So um, one way or another, that stuff is going to trickle back to us. It's going to trickle back to the United States, and you are seeing a partnership with both Islam and China right now of just buying up all of Africa, the gold, the uranium, everything that our our new electric vehicles are going to be powered by. All these resources are sitting right there in Nigeria, all over Africa, and no one is putting a stop to it. And the U.S. has turned a blind eye to what's going on, and it's very ignorant on their part.
Yeah, for the listeners who don't understand, the previous administration, President Trump, he put Nigeria on a terrorist watch list. That
Yes.
that the current administration, the Biden regime, as I call it, they've taken them off. And what's happening is, Mr. Saul is 100% right. What's happening in Nigeria is the population is about 50-50 Christian, Islam. And what we're seeing is from the northern portion of the country, an extremist terrorist organization called Boko Haram is invading and really attacking Christians, women, children, pastors, burning villages down to the ground. And the government is doing nothing to stop. And so there are Americans are getting involved. Judd is a shining example of Christian organizations getting involved. I know that there's plenty of American veteran organizations that have been brought into numerous African countries to help train local organizations to just defend themselves. Not necessarily militant, but just reconnaissance, active deployment of defensive strategic initiatives. So Judd, so explain to us a little bit more about the lackluster government involvement in these localized issues, and what your organization is really doing. Like, how are you really different from most Christian nonprofits?
Well, we're responsive. We're quick and responsive. If we get word of an attack within our area of reach, we try to get response within 24 to 48 hours of
Right.
food, medical aid. We're trying to assess the needs and help any way we can. If it's treating the wounded, paying for surgeries of those that really need it, um, just is trying to help them rebuild and get back to where they are. We rebuild churches after they're destroyed, but we also take proactive action in training village security teams on security
Mhm.
awareness, installing village security alarm systems so that people, if there's an attack coming, people have a warning to one either prepare or flee. We're trying to save lives, and frankly, there's a lot of other organizations that raise awareness about the issue, but we don't see them on the ground out there. Or we see organizations that say, send Bibles to persecuted Christians. Well, yeah, we do give Bibles, but you know what? If they don't have a place to live, if they're hungry, or if they're bleeding to death, um, they need medical help before we give them a Bible. They need practical help before we give them a Bible. So we're not a gimmick organization. We say exactly what we're going to do, and we say exactly what we do, and that's what really sets us apart from the other ones.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the main reasons why I wanted to get you on the show was to, there's two commonalities I find, with your organization. I mean, you guys do such a localized effort, which is really nice. You don't approach the problem from a grass tops perspective. You approach it from a grassroots perspective, and you really encourage localized assistance, localized help. You
Yes.
you really educate the local Christians being affected in Nigeria with honesty, openness, and preparedness. And that's something I feel Americans really are re-emphasizing right now, that big government in Nigeria or even in America is against them, they feel, and we're having to rely more heavily on our localized communities to depend on them, because there's right now the current trend, if you will, is big government is bad. And they I mean, I don't know if you've seen recently, Judd, the FBI has now three times, they've on three separate occasions in the past month, they've raided and arrested pro-life advocates for peacefully protesting. Just yesterday they arrested a Holocaust survivor, an 87-year-old woman, who for peacefully protesting outside of an abortion clinic. This is just a small example of our government's tyranny against Christians.
Yeah.
And so I mean, so a lot of times, people in America feel like, oh, these problems don't happen here. Folks, they do. They absolutely do. And so what's the may not be to the same level in Nigeria, but again, it's persecution of Christians is happening all over the country. Wouldn't you agree, Judd?
Yes, these problems do happen. It's not fictitious. The threat is real, but it's really sad when I go to Nigeria sometimes, and how in the conditions are absolutely horrendous and poverty stricken. But when you have Nigerians watching on the news what's happening in America, and I get over there and they say, "Wow, Judd, we're praying for you. Your country's messed up." I'm like, it puts things in perspective because things in the United States have gone so far away from common sense, and uh, you know, it they look at us as if they can't believe what's going on, and they're praying for us, and they contemplate on how to send missionaries to the United States because of how backwards we've become. But yeah, but what United States is slowly becoming a third world country, where people do not have the freedom of expression. They don't. They're losing their freedom of speech, and they're losing their freedom to worship the way
Yeah.
they want to, and express it. And something has to change. Something has to be done. But even the Nigerians are going. If things aren't fixed in America, things are going to get worse for Christians in Nigeria and all over the world. I mean, every other country that has a Christian base is scared to death of America completely folding because Christians all over the world know that they're next on the chopping block.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. I mean, and I always, say this on the show, pastors, churches, reverends, priests, they have to be that line in the sand. They have to, basically step up to government peacefully and respectfully and say, you crossed the line, and if they get threatened with their 501c3 status, give it back to them. That's what's so ironic about the 501c3 status for churches. Churches were already tax exempt before that law even passed, and most pastors don't even know that. You don't need that status. So I encourage pastors, throw it away. You don't need it. So but anyway, so to redirect back to your amazing organization. So equipping the persecuted. So what are you guys doing right now in Nigeria? What's the big focus? And what's the success story, and what's your next big project?
Well, we are. Well, we're opening an orphanage the next time we go out there, which is very soon. So we've constructed an orphanage. We're building it. It will be able to house 100 kids. Uh, we have been working alongside with a couple of other good missionaries in Nigeria to help a few very large, what they call IDP camps. They're essentially internal refugees. They're refugees in their own country that have been shoved and pushed away from their homes. And we've been working on helping them with food, medicine, trying to come up with sustainable ways to get them back on their feet, and also educating them on what's happening, and trying to help them better their lives and how to prepare um, for future conflict.
Now, for the audience, what does IDP stand for again?
IDP is internally displaced person. That's the official government term that the UN calls it, that the Nigerian government calls it, is IDPs. But here's the interesting thing, though. Just talk about IDPs is every time I go back, I get introduced to another camp of 1,000 to 3,000 people that the Nigerian government and the UN say doesn't exist. The government put them there. The government relocated them, put them in a place, but the government says they don't officially exist because they like to downplay the numbers and the persecution numbers of what's actually going on to draw attention away, to not bring so much attention onto them. So they lie about the numbers about how many people have been killed, how many people have been displaced, how many wounded. Every number is always underreported. And if the Nigerian government acknowledges that they have more persecuted Christians and people being removed from their homes because of the conflicts, that makes the country look bad.
Yep. Yep.
So they lie about the people suffering in their own nation.
Yeah, and see, that's exactly right. I mean, Nigeria is so important from a global perspective because they are the largest, most populated nation in Africa. Number one, number two, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and America are in this type of war, really, to really I don't want to use the word colonize, but that's what the Chinese Communist Party is doing. They're trying to absorb more farmland, trying to absorb more construction contracts. They see Africa as a a gold mine of natural resources that the Chinese Communist Party desperately needs, and America has really rescinded its presence in Africa. So that's number two. And number three, Nigeria is the largest producer of oil in Africa. And that what's currently happening around the globe from a gas perspective and oil perspective, you know we're already beholden to foreign nations for our gas and oil, and I guarantee you, the Nigerian government is not our friend. They're going to follow the paths with OPEC, with Saudi Arabia, and we're going to be affected even more. So, I mean, I understand that equipping the persecuted is foreign relations. It's Nigeria. It's not America. But again, I implore people. America is a a shining city on a hill. Ronald Reagan was 100% right. We absolutely are that shining city on a hill. And what we do in America and what we allow to happen in America is either a great shadow or a dark shadow over the rest of the world. And this is why, Judd, your story is so important. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So, okay, so tell
Yes,
me,
sir.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You're breaking up on my end here. You got to repeat your question, please.
Oh no, like I said, I want to just reiterate for everybody,
No, I said you're breaking up. I didn't hear your question.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I was just, I'm just having you agree with the sentiments that America is a shining city on a hill. That what we do echoes to the rest of the world. So I mean, it's so important for everybody to understand that. So we have to re-engage and
Yes.
get to a place where we are helping fellow Christians, because it's not just American Christians, it's not just British Christians. We are all brothers and sisters in Christ globally. So that's so important. So Judd, how many people have you helped thus far?
We've been in operation for just a little over 2 years, and we have directly impacted 40,000 Christians. Massively helped several villages, and I know we've saved many lives in our efforts with village security teams and putting in village alarm systems. We get feedback that we've actually saved many lives. And so that's people that have directly benefited from our aid and our training is 40,000 Nigerians. We hope to expand our mission to be able to triple that between this year and next year, and if not more.
Yeah, 100%.
We've been on the ground. We've for like I said, just a little over 2 years. We're fairly new, but we've expanded rapidly because we actually do what we say we're going to do,
Yes.
and because we're actually on the ground doing things and not just talking about the problem. And that's given us the ability to have such a wide impact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, that's why I wanted to have you on, because so many nonprofits and some national well-known nonprofits that I've had the pleasure of working with, they promise, all these fundraising dollars goes towards the cause. And I can tell you firsthand it doesn't, and that's why, again, Judd Saul's organization, Equipping the Persecuted, is fantastic, because, I can personally attest to the fact, that, 90% of money raised that goes towards local efforts in Nigeria. So this is just a great example of an American stepping up and doing the right thing for fellow Christians. And the amazing thing about Judd is you're not even a pastor. That's what's even more ironic.
Nope. I've been called. The Lord put the burden of persecuted Christians in Nigeria on my heart, and when God calls, you go, and
Absolutely.
that's what it's all about. It's where it's why we keep doing it.
Now, how many times do you get over to Nigeria every year?
Between 2 and 3 times a year.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Excellent. Awesome. That's fantastic. And are you going soon?
Yes, we're going to be going very soon. I can't give specifics because of safety reasons, but we are heading out very soon. We have an orphanage to open.
Nice. Awesome. 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 That's fantastic. No, and I really appreciate all the work that you're doing. I know it's definitely not easy. So, so how can people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of us at equippingthepersecuted.org, www.equippingthepersecuted.org.
Absolutely. Excellent. And is there and do you have like a subscription? Do you have like a monthly subscription options that people have as well?
We are challenging people to donate $20 a month or more. We're trying to get regular donor support so we know we can count on. We're going to have 100 orphans to take care of real soon. And we have a lot of projects that need to get finished and programs and things put in place to really be effective. But I can tell you right now that for what little we've raised in the last 2 years, it has been amazing. God has been amazing to the ministry, and so have the people. And we've been able to impact the lives of thousands
Yeah.
of Nigerians.
And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because I'll be signing up for that, very quickly. And I implore everyone else who listens to this, sign up. It's $20 a month, and you're actually, having a real impact on, the local efforts with fellow brothers and sisters in Christ in a country that's, in a lot of ways war torn, in a lot of ways similar to America, with a very untrustworthy government that's targeting Christians on purpose. So again, Judd, I want to thank you so much for being on today. Anything else you want the people to know?
Just please keep our ministry in your prayers. Keep our local Nigerians, local team of Nigerians in your prayers. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous what we're doing, and our team risks their lives every day to help do this mission on the ground. And when we go to Nigeria, we're risking our lives to do this. So pray for our protection and pray for blessing over our ministry. That's what I'd like to ask the folks to do.
Excellent, excellent. All right, everyone. This is Christopher Prosch with Veterans for America First Chaplain Corps. Again, Mr. Judd Saul here with Equipping the Persecuted. That is www.equippingthepersecuted.org. Please go to his website. I will be posting it in this link as well. So for everybody who wants to, they can absolutely go to it and see real change happening on a localized effort, something that we desperately need here in America. So Judd, thank you again, everyone, and I will be signing off, and I'll see you all next week.